welcome everyone to 284 News. My name is Javon Wilson.
I'm Kamal Haynes.
And I'm Ron Grant.
And we are so thrilled and happy to be coming to you live out of the beautiful British Virgin Islands. The content continues via our website, 284media.com. In today's news, fresh blood and signs of struggle found in Miya Marcano's apartment. The 19-year-old is still missing.
The BVI Christian Council in the BVI pays tribute to Mr. Linton M. Wheatley, prominent businessman and founder of the BVI Day of Prayer.
We also see residents speaking out against Cabinet's compassionate consideration of two criminals for belongership status. The Attorney General now saying that status was not granted.
The Department of Youth Affairs and Sports hosts upcoming events for BVI Youth and the BVI Government to publish new entry protocols effective October 1st. All this and so much more after word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
You value traditions. You value music. You value education. Family.
I love you.
Service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love. Life. At Popular, we're committed to you and everything our community values. For the things you value the most, count on us. Popular.
Welcome everybody. It's Thursday, September 30th, 2021. A terrific Thursday to each and every one of you. We have made it successfully to the end of September. Hello October, we're coming, we see you. I'm Ron Grant and we're coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
And my name is Javon Wilson, of course, here yet again with your daily dose of 284 News. Now, viewers, we continue to follow updates on the case of Miya Marcano as police continue their search to find the missing college student. Family members said that they found signs of a struggle in her bedroom after she vanished. Now, according to WFLA, a cousin of Marcano said that they found her room in a disarray with jewelry on the floor and the bed unmade. Family members told the outlet that blood was also found in the area. Now, Ron, I know police are still gathering evidence as it relates to this particular case, but it's quite unsettling now to hear of reports that fresh blood was found in Miya Marcano's room. Of course, the search continues, and for those of you who may not know, the main suspect has also committed suicide, so that's what we're following for today on her case.
And we're certainly praying for the best and for the family and community for which has been tremendously impacted by the situation.
Yes.
Continuing on, VI's active COVID-19 cases stand at 46. 37 of those cases are on Virgin Gorda, while 9 are on Tortola. The government of the Virgin Islands is expected to engage consultants on ideal population goals, says the Honorable Labor Minister Vincent Wheatley, and 2 prison guards and cops charged in relation to the fatal HMP stabbing. More Mu and Delta COVID-19 variants discovered in the BVI. Persons are asked to be on the watch and, of course, practice social distancing and all protocols as it pertains to COVID-19. And on the matter of the Speaker, Willock declines to boot a judge from court case despite accusations. In addition to that, political aspirant Ms. Shana M. Smith Archer says that there should have been a female minister within the cabinet. Of course, in addition to all that's been going on, we see where the absence of nightlife will affect the economy, says social commentator Mr. Claude Skelton-Klein.
All right, viewers, heavy headlines, but we have to jump straight into it. Now, since learning of Cabinet's compassionate consideration to approve belongership for 2 criminals, one being a convicted rapist, residents have openly been speaking out against what they're calling an abuse of privilege by legislators. The situation was brought to the forefront when Minister of Labor, Immigration and Natural Resources, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, was questioned on the cases during the Commission of Inquiry's September 28th hearing. At that time, the minister defended Cabinet's decision to offer compassionate consideration. Now, viewers, the COI attorney Bilal Rawat asked Minister Wheatley, and I quote, "What exactly is the basis on which Cabinet can reasonably reach a conclusion that a rapist should have been given the sacred gift of belongership?" And viewers, this is what our Minister of Immigration had to say.
Everyone who will consider her persons who are either known to us personally or whose families we know personally. In this case, one of these persons I went to school with, things happen in life. I went to school with him.
Sorry, your voice is dropping a
sorry.
little bit, so just
I'm
speak up.
saying these are persons, they're not strangers to us. The one person here, this is sympathy. Somebody I went to school with who I guess was caught up in a situation.
Pause there. There are two people mentioned
Yeah, it
here.
was one of them. I'm not going to call him.
the
One of them I had known all my life. I
Right,
went to school.
Is that the other person?
Yeah.
Not the person serving the sentence in.
No, the person serving the sentence.
The person serving the sentence.
Sorry, the other one.
The other one. So,
These are
well, let's
persons-
call them criminal 1 and criminal 2.
So criminal 2. I'm talking about criminal 2. It's somebody I went to school with, who I know personally. And we just thought it was the humane thing to do in this case. And these are things you do almost against your better judgment, so to speak, but the humanitarian in us says this is probably the right thing to do. Might not be, but this is the right thing to do. The other one, I know his parents very well. These upstanding persons. We just were trying to be sympathetic to their cause to have their son here with them. So that's what that was.
Did you make an assessment that these two individuals were of good character? That's a precondition.
I said these are persons that lived there. They happened to be abroad at the time. Yeah, they are good people.
So
who may have been caught up for some reason in a situation.
So you made an assessment that these two people were of good character?
Yes.
Now, viewers, when pressed by Mr. Rawat on the governing laws that says that in order to be considered for belongership, persons must be ordinarily resident in the BVI for 20 years. This is what the Labor Minister had to say.
You have two serious criminals serving prison time outside the jurisdiction. And what, again, taking it back to the Commissioner's point about process, how did you assess the notion of ordinarily resident?
I can't say that I know how long they were in prison. Saying they were sentenced to 10 years doesn't say they were in prison for any period of time. I don't know.
Well,
they say they were sentenced to 10 years. They didn't say they were in prison already.
Well, did you ask those kind of questions of yourselves?
The paper was deferred for a reason, so investigations could be done to answer those kinds of questions.
Because
but I don't recall. This is a long time ago. But a lot has happened.
But because it's the other thing for us to take into account is 16.5, and 16.5 says that someone has been ordinarily resident in the territory for a period of at least 20 years. Now, the point there is that it brings again that ordinarily, the phrase ordinarily resident is important. And did you not have at the time any guidance or any guidelines that you decided amongst yourselves as a cabinet? You're the decision makers to say this is how we will approach the concept of ordinarily resident.
As a formal, prescriptive, written down thing, the answer is no.
Then, viewers, there was a discussion on what constitutes good character. Let's take a look at what both Mr. Rawat as well as the minister had to say on that particular matter.
Because, I mean, everyone have a general notion of what good character is. You're not involved in nefarious activity. You're not X, Y, Z.
Well,
these are general guidelines.
I think, with respect, it's very difficult to understand how any rational cabinet could come to a conclusion that someone serving, that is, they have been convicted, serving a 10-year sentence for rape, qualifies as an individual of good character.
Like I said, other considerations were given in this particular case.
Well, that takes me to the next question about process, because you say other considerations were taken into account.
Like family ties and so
family ties. You personally knew the family. I mean, in different ways, you had contact with both criminals.
One individual, yeah.
Yes. The Premier spoke to the parents directly. Going back to the process that you instituted under the fast track, where in that scheme does it allow for Cabinet to import into the process its subjective assessment?
I think when we envisioned the fast track, I don't think anyone expected something like this to actually show up. It wasn't envisioned that a case like this would honestly show up. I think it surprised all of us that we had this situation here. It's just an anomaly. It was never foreseen because most of the persons who we envisioned would be in the fast track were persons living here. They will have children here. They have families here. They have strong ties here. This was never envisioned. I could honestly say I never envisioned this. So it sprung upon us and we had to make a decision.
Viewers, now evidently the minister's evidence shared in the COI hearing has resulted in major public backlash by persons who believe that these considerations were unconscionable. A BVI resident, as well as the chairman of the BVI Marine Association, Mr. Andrew Ball, within a Facebook post said, and I quote, "Little did I know, after spending 13 years trying to better the BVI, the secret to belonger status is apparently to go and commit a serious crime in another country, get convicted and incarcerated, and then request compassionate consideration in regards to status. How is it that a country rewards criminals and penalizes those who work to help their community?" End of quote. Now, viewers, under his very post, another person opined, "Makes no sense. If those people committed the crimes in the BVI, they would have been deported. I have friends who have been deported for less." And finally, adding to the conversation was a BVI lander who said, and I quote, "I just heard this story in its entirety and I condemn what happened, but I also condemn our surprise. This is exactly what our culture allows. 1, rape, and 2, who you know means it's okay. I think people will find the particulars even more interesting. It's a story of abuse of privilege all around." End of quote. Now, viewers, the situation in question was one of 2 criminal cases considered under the government's launched fast-track program to address an age-old backlog of applications for belongership and residency status. However, following the public commotion, Attorney General Mrs. Dawn Smith earlier today released a letter confirming that belonger status was not, and I repeat, was not granted to neither of the cases in question, and raised concerns about how the hearing was handled. Honorable Dawn Smith believes it was misleading and damaging. It was a misleading and damaging impression, and is now adamant that the COI's team violated protocols since 1, no notice was provided to the minister that these cases would have been raised, and also she is equally concerned about the potential resulting damage to public interest. Ron, this headline has been causing quite a storm over the past 2 days. And while we are happy to hear that the government in good judgment did not approve these applications for belongership status, I think what this story really brings to the forefront is the need for us to really examine the processes and what considerations should be given in the event that anomaly cases like these, for example, when they come up, how do we then deal with these situations?
You are correct, and in the final analysis, while some persons may not agree, this would not have been brought to the forefront, deem it be somewhat incorrect on their part from the COI. The principles that govern how we handle business and how we grant certain measures to persons is of paramount importance when we look at the details. And I think we continue to learn a lot, we continue to unfold, the territory continues to see a lot of what we would not have been ordinarily exposed to as a result of the COI.
I think perhaps one of the most alarming facts about this story in particular is the fact that the Minister of Labor would have said within his reveal that both of these persons in question were of good character. And I think persons were really troubled with the fact that, 1, these are convicted criminals, convicted rapists. And why are we giving so much consideration, especially when we live in a community where we still consider issues like rape culture and rape awareness to be such a taboo topic? We need to be dealing with those things first and making our community a bit more comfortable before we allow considerations for persons who are convicted rapists.
And essentially trying to make it as safe as possible for residents. So when you use the term considerations, again, it makes you wonder, what is your considerations? What considerations and whose considerations are you taking into account when you make such blatant statements? I think as daunting as the story is, it continues to raise awareness on what we continue to struggle with in a culture, in a Caribbean culture. Many persons, like the persons who mentioned, I've known persons who were deported for less. It goes back to what we're willing to allow. And again, a culture that has been unfortunately created that it is dependent on who you know and how much bucks you have. And I think that's absolutely unfortunate. But continuing, viewers, on the local scene, for one day only, the Recovery and Development Agency will host a procurement workshop aimed at improving contractors and suppliers' capacity to effectively respond to general bidding opportunities as well as for projects financed by the government of the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean Development Bank. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Recovery and Development Agency, Mr. Anthony McMaster, shared that the workshop will provide contractors with the opportunity to understand how best to develop their tender submissions and key areas of consideration. The CEO stated, and I quote, "We have collected some 12 plus months of data on projects, the tender processes, the evaluation process, the types of bids submitted, and we think it's appropriate for us to show and share this information with contractors so they can see where success lies and where there have been challenges in the submissions." Now, the CEO hopes that the contractors will walk away with the knowledge needed to apply this information during the next round of tender submissions for recovery projects to be administered by the RDA. Gilbert Fortnard, Managing Director of FDL Consultant Inc., in the special request guest presenter, at the Road Rehabilitation Consultant with the Caribbean Development Bank, Rehabilitation and Reconstruction, who holds oversight for the 8 road rehabilitation projects being executed by the RDA. Other topics for discussion include CDB tender processes, evaluating VFM projects, common errors in tendering, and tips for the preparation of tenders. The RDA has also administered some $28 million worth of recovery projects, which span 8 slope stabilization and road rehabilitation projects, 4 reservoirs, 3 government buildings, the Halls of Justice, West End Ferry Terminal, and 2 schools, in addition to early recovery projects funded directly by the government of the Virgin Islands. Now, the workshop viewers will be held on Thursday, 30th September. Of course, that is today, and we continue to bring you updates as it pertains to this. Jovan, once again, the RDA, which is a statutory body under the Premier's office, who's responsible, of course, for delivering recovery projects outlined by the government of the Virgin Islands, seeks to, I think, in the most recent times, try to assist persons to better present themselves as it pertains to the tendering process, and making sure that when applying for these jobs, which they can very easily benefit from, that they're conducting themselves in the best way possible, and making sure that they understand what is required of businesses and particularly contractors when applying for these positions. So we want to say kudos to the RDA in this endeavor.
All right, viewers, still ahead of the break, the BVI government has finally released the new protocols ahead of the October 1st, not deadline, but when it becomes effective. We have the details for that, as well as the BVI Christian Council pays tribute to Mr. Linton Wheatley, a prominent businessman and founder of the BVI Day of Prayer. We have all the details for these stories and so much more when 284 News returns. Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, the government of the Virgin Islands has released updated arrival protocols that will become effective tomorrow, October 1st, that will apply to residents as well as incoming travelers. Now, viewers, a few things to note. Fully vaccinated travelers do not have to apply to enter on the BVI Gateway portal. However, there are a few conditions. First of all, you must have received the second COVID-19 vaccine shot no less than 2 weeks before entering the Virgin Islands. The vaccine must be approved by the World Health Organization, and persons must pre-register for a rapid antigen test via the Hummingbird portal. Now, for those who are coming in via the West End Ferry Terminal, that website is westend.bvi.care. For the persons coming in through the Rotown Ferry Terminal, the website is rtferry.bvi.care. And of course, those coming through the Terrence B International Airport are advised to apply at airport.bvi.care. Now, upon entry, those fully vaccinated guests must provide results of a negative PCR test or antigen rapid test no older than 5 days, proof of vaccination, card or otherwise, travel insurance, medical repatriation, and quarantine accommodation costs. They are also subjected to antigen tests upon arrival. If the test results are negative, they will be free to enjoy the Virgin Islands. Now, in the cases of a fully vaccinated parent or guardian traveling with a minor, minors under the age of 17 years old are also exempted and will not need to apply via the BVI Gateway portal. However, the minor must present a negative PCR test or antigen test no older than 5 days old. And once again, once the results are negative, the minor accompanied by the vaccinated parent or guardian will be allowed to board an aircraft or vessel. Now, while those specified groups are exempted from applying to the BVI Gateway portal, this does not apply to partially vaccinated, unvaccinated, and unaccompanied minors, as well as other persons not covered under the fully vaccinated exemption protocols. For these groups, they must, 1, register and provide relevant information on the BVI Gateway. 2, obtain requisite approval from the Environmental Health Division, and that website is going to be available on the flyer that you'll see soon. Now, if the expectation is to quarantine, that is in a private residence, hotel, or vessel, they must also take a PCR test within 3 to 5 days upon arrival, submit the certified negative test result to the BVI Gateway portal, provide evidence, and this is for our visitors, of travel insurance, which includes minimum approved coverage for COVID-19, including hospitalization, doctor's visits and prescriptions, medical repatriation, quarantine accommodation costs, and if partially vaccinated, those persons must submit a vaccination certificate or some form of proof. Additionally, it is important to note that all fully vaccinated travelers must be prepared to pay a fee of $50 for the rapid antigen test upon arrival. That is via cash or card. And of course, that is also at our Terrence B International Airport, West End and Rotown jetties. And also all partially vaccinated and unvaccinated travelers will receive a PCR test upon arrival, which they're expected to pay for as well. Ron, I think while we're very happy to see these protocols being officially published, many of the stakeholders within the community were very frustrated and concerned that just a day, 24 to 36 hours prior to these protocols coming into effect, which will be October 1st, that these protocols were released.
Not released, indeed. I think we definitely have to try to seek to make things a bit better, but we're happy to see that they're finally out there.
Yeah.
Continuing on the local scene, we're closing out, of course, the territory of the Virgin Islands continues to mourn the loss of a stalwart businessman and a founder of the BVI Day of Prayer, Mr. Linton M. Wheatley. Members of the BVI Christian Council, to which he participated, reached out to issue a statement on behalf of the organization. Listen in.
Holy greetings. This message comes to you from the President, Reverend Earthlyn Brown, and members of the BVI Christian Council. The BVI Christian Council joins with the rest of the territory as they mourn the passing of one of our spiritual giants, Brother Linton Wheatley. Brother Wheatley was loved and respected by the people of these Virgin Islands, particularly by the Christian community, for his contribution in the area of prayer. It was 25 years ago that Brother Wheatley, under the leading of the Holy Spirit, introduced the first Interdenominational Day of Prayer on the first Thursday in May. He rallied the entire Virgin Islands to unite together to pray for the nation in an entire day of prayer. The day consisted of early morning prayer on radio stations throughout the day, and culminating with an afternoon crusade. Similar prayer sessions were also held on the sister islands. Brother Wheatley also held early morning prayer sessions in strategic locations on the first Tuesdays of each month. After COVID-19 came on the scene, the prayer meetings continued to be held on Zoom. Brother Wheatley was indeed a great man of God who has left a legacy for all to follow. That is, quote unquote, prayer changes things. He also gave his support to local churches by attending special services and revivals and expressing his brotherly love to all. Brother Wheatley was a successful business entrepreneur, a husband, and a father. But most of all, Brother Wheatley was a true prayer warrior who believed in the power of prayer. We extend our sincere condolences and love to his wife, children, and entire family during their time of bereavement. May the God of all peace and comfort sustain and strengthen you. He has completed his mission on this earth, and God has called him home. May the work that Brother Linton Wheatley has done speak for him. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
That was the BVI Christian Council on the passing of Mr. Linton Wheatley. Now, Mr. Wheatley passed away on September 28 here in the BVI. This was confirmed by a family and official post. Mr. Wheatley, among other things, was a member of the Church of God of Holiness, Boggess Bay, Tortola, and was known as a stalwart community member. He was the founder of the World Day of Prayer celebrations here in the BVI, which continues to be observed today. This has been ongoing for some 25 years since its inception. Some of his well-known businesses in the BVI are Island Department Store and Happy Lion Restaurant. He is survived by his wife, Pearl Wheatley, 4 children, and 7 grandchildren.
Such a significant loss. Of course, our hearts and prayers are with the family and friends. Yes. Viewers, there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect for Tropical Storm Victor, which has formed over the eastern tropical Atlantic. Now, the U.S. National Center, NHC, says at 8 p.m. the center of Tropical Storm was located near latitude 8.3 north, longitude 25.5 west. Now, Victor is moving towards the west-northwest near 13 miles per hour, and this motion is expected to continue during the next couple of days, followed by a turn to the northwest. Now, maximum sustained winds have increased to near 40 miles per hour, with higher gusts. Steady strengthening is forecasted, and Victor is expected to become a hurricane in a day or two. Tropical storm winds extends outward 60 miles of the center. Meanwhile, at 5 p.m., the center of Hurricane Sam, which was located over the Atlantic Ocean about 385 miles northwest of the northern Leeward Islands. Of course, viewers, we continue to keep you updated on what's happening during this very active, more than average hurricane season. And we encourage you as well to stay tuned to the DDM page for all official updates on what's happening within the region, and of course how we can continue to protect ourselves. I definitely don't think there is enough information that we can consume, being that we are certainly living in a hurricane prone region. And of of course, would have experienced those travesties
Of course,
of
2017.
2017. All right, viewers, I think that is all the time we have for today, but we want to encourage you to visit our website, 284media.com. Lots of articles there to read. We're also on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram, as well as Twitter. As per usual, my name is Javon Wilson, and it has been my pleasure.
And I'm Ron Grant. Do have a beautiful rest of the day. A happy Thursday to each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.